Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show, everybody. Happy Easter. I say that because we had a pre-Easter here. How do you figure holidays when you get a divorce? So I said, you know what? My wife's going to get them Easter morning. I'm going to do my own Easter. And we did 2 Easters. You get 2 Easters. We hid the eggs. Not real eggs, plastic eggs with the vegan jelly beans, the Lindt chocolate bunnies, and hid them out in the front yard. And it was fun.
All right.
Yeah, that's where we're at. How are you? Did you run around looking for vegan bunnies today?
You just exposed yourself entirely, because now we realize that we actually could do the show tomorrow. We were going to announce that we can't do the show tomorrow, but now
No, but I'm going to that. I'm going to that when I'm going to New York City to see my family.
You got
I got a big family Italian thing going on.
In the morning?
The whole mob shows up. No, but it's like gotta get the kids there. I gotta bring them back from there. Bring them back for breakfast. All right. It's a thing,
tomorrow's the day off. That's our announcement, right?
Announcement: no show tomorrow because Raghunath is lying.
That's right.
That's the announcement. I thought you were gonna.
For no good reason.
I thought you were gonna say. Raghunath, you've been revealed. You're wearing the same shirt 2 days in a row. That's what I thought you were gonna say. So now I'm coming out and saying it. It's sort of a shirt jacket.
Yeah, I also dealt with that statement too. If it's a jacket, then you should have another shirt under it.
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
But it's the same one from yesterday.
Okay, no, that's a problem.
I haven't showered yet because I was getting preparations for Easter. Come on.
Okay. Anything goes, Raghunath. We love you with or without a
I chanted 10 rounds. I did pranayam. I just didn't shower yet because I had to do an Easter egg hunt. I will shower afterwards. I'll do my puja and then I'll have breakfast. How about that?
All right. We'll do what you got to do.
Or vice versa. I'll eat breakfast, take a shower. Anyway. Right. Kaustubha, you're like the morning ritual police.
I didn't bring it up even. You brought it up.
Oh, Mara. You're always taking his side. Okay.
Let's wrap up the banter.
It's Q&A day, everybody. This is the day that everybody asks questions. They sends them in. And you can send your questions in too every Saturday. Wisdom of the Sages 108@gmail.com. Mara goes through them and sends them to Kaustubha. Kaustubha sends them to me, and then we read them off. We try our best to do it within an hour. If you just like, some people really like Q&A day as their first exposure to Wisdom of the Sages, because we find that although we're so different, a lot of people have the similar questions. Any announcements, Mara, or you want to just get into some questions?
There's a Shloka study group, I think, after the show today, and Bhakti recovery group meeting at 9:30.
All right. By the way, also the same email address. If you want to join us live on Zoom, we've got 79 people here this morning. Otherwise, if you're listening new on Facebook, you can get this podcast anywhere that you get podcasts, or YouTube. And always remember to give us a 5-star review, like, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube, comment, etc. So let's dive in.
Okay. So the first 2 questions are for both of us. So do you want me to read this one? Why don't you read the first one?
Okay. This is from, Ooh, look who it's from. Our dear friend and regular Zoomer and regular Sweet Baby Krishna host. We've been doing Sweet Baby Krishna at his mom's house.
Yep.
Well, we're on a marathon. We had a nice one last night. Hare Krishna. This is Gopal Chandra. Hare Krishna. Please, everyone, accept my obeisances. Raghu and Kaustubha, you know how I feel about the both of you already. I think I may praise the both of you a bit too much, but I'm not sorry. Somehow, by Krishna's grace, I've been given the honor to develop a close and intimate relationship with two trailblazers of the contemporary Bhakti movement. You're very kind, Prabhu. I pray that in my next life, I continue to serve the mission of Raghu and Kaustubha and my Guru Raghunath Swami, even if it's in the form of an ant. If I come back as an ant, and in that ant form, I somehow participate in nudging God consciousness forward the width of a hair, I would feel good. Then please let me come back as that ant. Here's my question. All right, first of all, that was beautiful. I'd like to just comment on that, or should we get into the question too? Well, first of all, Gopal Chandra, a lot of people know he's a regular part of our community. He has cancer, and we're doing Sweet Baby Krishna at his house as much as we can. And he's been, connected to Bhakti for a while. He did my teacher training back in the day. His mom has been to India with me. He's been to India with me for a long time. And, he's going through it right now in a big way. And this mood that he has, first glorifying his teacher and his teachers who've inspired him in Bhakti, and may I come back, he's facing off with these very, very serious life issues that most of our issues are not like these type of issues. Most of my issues are, man, I got a flat tire. Man, the insurance company won't give me what I needed. Or, man, that's our issues we're dealing with. He's dealing with the big issue, and he's facing off with it. And in his deep spiritual clarity, he's filled with appreciation, and he's saying, no matter what suffering I'm going through, I'll take birth as an ant again if it means I can be of service in the future. I just want to share that this is what great masters pray for, things like this. And he's not saying it out of a false humility. He doesn't have that type of false humility. He has a very deep, genuine humility. And I have a great appreciation with working with him, going through this, through this transition that he's in. And it truthfully, and Mara can contest because Mara's there all the time too. It's just, we're watching like transformation happen with everyone involved, including himself. Like, we're all benefiting from him getting very, very Krishna conscious right now. And it's quite beautiful to witness how when you add Krishna, God, spiritual life to any situation, there's a massive ripple effect of auspiciousness that touches not only the person practicing, but everybody within that range, in that universe, is getting affected. He's got friends coming over from high school that their lives are changing from witnessing him go through this. It's not depressing when we go there. It's not depressing. It's not sad. It's not, doesn't mean we don't think deeply. Doesn't mean there's not gravity there. But Bhakti is the joy of life. And it is, we see in the process, he's resurrecting everybody's spiritual life. And it's quite impressive. And this prayer, this is like a prayer of a bodhisattva. You know what I mean? I'm going to come back more and more and do any service I can. This is beautiful. And I just want to thank Gopal Chandra for being in our life.
It's interesting. We read that poem, was it a couple days ago? The one that, was it the Emily Dickinson one, or was it the Margaret Atwood one? But the one that said, I think it was Emily Dickinson, where she was saying that her church isn't necessarily, her keeping the Sabbath isn't necessarily going to the church,
right?
But in nature and in poetry, and then she said, and so she's not waiting to be for salvation, but she's kind of with God all along. I forget exactly what the line is, right? But in other words, it's not, and this is kind of, again, plays with that idea of religiosity versus spirituality. where like the religious person is kind of doing their rituals and so on with the hope that they're going to be freed from their sins and they're going to find salvation. Whereas the spiritualist person is trying to have a transformation, right? It's not like I'm just trying to be saved, but I'm trying to become a different person. I'm trying to transform. And when you're focused like that, it's not that you're waiting to die to get what's coming to you. It's something that's developing all along. But having said that, it is interesting that, like I've seen, you've probably seen as well, that it seems that if someone's been practicing spirituality seriously, regularly, sincerely throughout their life, that as they get towards the end, it almost seems like the depth of the realization accelerates.
Yeah, for sure.
And
you start
so,
all those things we talk about are coming to life.
yeah,
Things get taken away from us. And we always talk about that. Yeah, you can't own anything. You start to get it.
yeah.
And Gopal can't walk anymore.
Yeah.
He's in it. I can't imagine that. I can imagine that. You get these heavy realizations real quick, like concentrated superfoods of realization. And now's the time to get real serious. And this is our conversation. Now the time we're going to get serious. We're going to take this really seriously, because there comes to a time where you can't function as well. I was sick the other day, and it's like I couldn't chant, I couldn't do anything. And he's incredibly lucid and clear right now. I'm sorry I cut you off. I'm just getting worked
Well,
up
I was
here.
just wanted to say that. So because the realization and the depth of the realization, right? In other words, what has always been on some level theoretical.
Right.
In other words, I read a statement, like, in other words, he said, I don't care if I come back as an ant as long as I can serve, right? Now, I read statements like that from someone like in the 10th Canto Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma says, if I come back, that's okay. If I don't find that salvation, if I don't return to the spiritual realm, whatever, that's okay. As long as I can be a blade of grass in Vrindavan. Right. Like, because then I may have the association of the devotees, they may step on me, it's like I hear that it's like a theoretical, it's an idea. Is it just a poetic expression? No, it's actually like a genuine expression. And when I hear Gopal Chandra say this, if I come back as an ant, I can't say that with full sincerity. Like, if I say that, it's kind of like I'm almost mimicking a depth of spiritual realization, but I don't feel that coming from Gopal Chandra, and it's like it's for real, because there's an acceleration of the depth of one's one's spirituality, or the depth of one's realization. And so then we get this kind of dynamic that I've seen before, and I was mentioning, I think you've probably seen before, where the person that's dying, they're thinking, right now more than ever, I need the blessings of all of the yogis, right? Like, I need their best wishes and their blessings because I'm going through this transformation. But really what happens is it works the other way. It's really that person becomes capable of granting the blessings, It's that person who suddenly, sometimes it's even almost like the disciple is blessing the guru, It's like the disciple, by the lifelong blessings of the guru, now that the disciple is on their deathbed, and they're sharing so much that even, the guru is benefiting from their association. And I think... It's just a beautiful thing to see that the maturation of one's contemplation over the years. It's becoming deeper. It's becoming stronger. It's becoming real, and it's not fake. This is real stuff. This is true spirituality. So I just kind of felt that in how he was expressing himself.
Yeah, that was beautiful. The Bhagavatam is our best friends. It's our best friend, and we really have to start incorporating it on a regular basis. Don't put it at the bottom of your priority list. Make it your number one priority to hear the Bhagavatam on a regular basis, hear spiritual wisdom on a regular basis. And don't wait till the end of life. Keep it within you, weaved into your life, and it's going to be there for us when we need it the most. And I'm witnessing this with Gopal Chandra in his beautiful transformation. And like I said, transforming everybody around him. Gopal. Yeah. Thank you.
So what was his question?
Oh, it's his question. Oh, he asked a question? Oh, yeah. Oh, I got a good answer for this question. My answer is I have no clue, but maybe you have a clue. Here's my question. While Lord Chaitanya was alive spreading the Sankirtan movement, did he have a favorite Maha Mantra melody? So much has been documented about his life. I'm curious if this was ever written down, the melody. Thank you, everyone. Love you all. Interesting, huh?
Yeah, I asked a couple people about that, and I didn't get any positive responses. But let me just, I can't answer that. In other words, like, we all may have like a favorite melody, suddenly someone starts chanting the melody. Oh, this is the one I really like,
Yeah.
And what's that's based on may be, our own conditioning,
Sure.
someone that's into goth, who spent years like
Great
getting
goth melody.
they may be into some kind of like, more melancholy kind of thing
Yeah,
or
there's a
something
lot
like
of
that.
melancholy melodies, some little happy melodies.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't like
so-
those sad melodies.
Yeah,
right?
some with a brighter kind of, conditioning might relate more to like a more festive kind of melody or something like that. And so that's based on our conditioning. But what Sri Chaitanya was doing, it's described that he had his internal purpose and his external purpose, right? Like it's Krishna comes as Sri Chaitanya, with an internal purpose and an external purpose. And the external purpose was to kind of demonstrate and share bhakti, right? And demonstrate what bhakti looks like, and spread it through Sankirtan. But the internal purpose was to relish the mood of Srimati Radharani. And this is the very esoteric side of bhakti, right? That God himself, Krishna, is witnessing the devotion, in the heart of the greatest of all devotees, Srimati Radharani, and says, what she's experiencing, I can't experience from my position. What must that be like? It's even greater than what I'm experiencing. To experience bhakti is like the greatest experience, and I need to know what it's like. And so he comes as Sri Chaitanya to relish the moods of Radha. And to do that, he surrounded himself by the most expert connoisseurs of bhakti in the form of, especially Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Roy, right? And so when Sri Chaitanya is living in Puri, he's staying up all night, and the three of them together are reading poetry, they're singing songs, they're reading Shastra, they're speaking Bhagavatam. What we do every morning on Wisdom Sages, they're doing on a much deeper level. And it's said that, particularly Swarup Damodar, he was like such a cultured person that any poetry, any music, anything that was being presented to Sri Chaitanya would go through him like a filter. And he would only allow in what was authentic and real and beneficial. And he would know the particular mood that Sri Chaitanya was meaning to relish at a particular moment. And he would know what poetry to recite. Or we say here melody, but a bit more complex than melody is a raga, right? Like there are different ragas. And it's hard to describe exactly what a raga is, but it's a combination of melody and scale and different musical elements that create a structure through which a certain mood can be conveyed. And so Swarup Damodar Goswami would know like what raga to chant the mantra in, according to the particular mood that Sri Chaitanya was trying to relish at that time. So it's really it's quite sophisticated.
When I first heard about the concept of ragas, I was like, this is so genius. Like there's certain melodies we sing only in the morning, and certain melodies we sing only in the evening. And then there's melodies to wake you up, and there's melodies to wind you down. Right. And we grew up in America where the first thing we hear is, do you remember these alarm clock radios? I don't know if they still make those. So you wake up, it's like, bah! And goes right to like a radio station playing like Steve Miller Band or something. It's the first sound you hear as you get out of bed is Steve Miller Band.
And you're just rolling the dice whether it's going to be the right raga.
Well, there's no good, rock and roll raga in the morning. So it's one of these things you need to ease into your day. Right. And there's a way there's sounds to hear in the morning. There's sounds to hear at night, and there's sounds to hear at noon, but all the different phases of the day, there's different sounds. Right. And it's a sonic science. And I don't know what those morning things were. I know that Ayendra Prabhu tried to resurrect a lot of these like lost melodies, but at the same time, he did try to also keep the main thing, which was he was also mood was let's just chant the Maha Mantra.
Yeah.
And so sometimes he even used like Bollywood melodies that he liked that would think, you know what, we're just going to use this for the Maha
But
Mantra.
you know, he had an explanation about that too. Is that
What'd he say?
the Bollywood melodies are based off of the original ragas. So it's kind of just like bringing it back, you know, because you see, for us, like for Indian people, sometimes they're hearing a particular melody of Maha Mantra being sung, and they're like, no, but this is from that movie. Like, I don't want to.
Right. Oh, right.
You know, for us, it's totally going over our heads. But like, imagine if someone, you know, started chanting Maha Mantra to, you know, whatever, like the theme from Titanic or something. Like, you're like, oh man, it's making me think of the Titanic. I don't want to like.
Oh, right.
I don't want to hear it like in that melody, but actually, you know, it's what Ayendra Prabhu was saying, that he's bringing those ragas back. But you know, it was when I read this question yesterday, just the day before, or maybe 2 days before, I was listening to a kirtan by Ayendra Prabhu, and it was recorded in the late evening in the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. And he said at the beginning of it, he said, this is a favorite raga of Srimati Radharani. And he said, but particularly for this time of day between 10 p.m. and 12 p.m. And so it was actually because of that I thought, let me ask Ram Roy Prabhu if he could, you know, and so where does he get that? I assume that like within the Goswami's works, it's mentioned that, you know, like, and then, you know, Radharani sang in the whatever raga, you know.
Sure.
And so he's not just making that up, but it's coming from some source. And so I asked Ram Roy, who I said, you know, if there's any mention of favorite ragas or of Sri Chaitanya, he didn't have anything. But
you know, I will appreciate Ayendra who did that, because you know, we used to sleep. My room was right, like you could hear the 24-hour kirtan from my room when I was young, and you know, in the middle of the night, the 24-hour kirtan was going, but it was all these late night melodies, very softly and sweetly. It wasn't like this ripping kirtan. It was a soft Maha Mantra going all night, as opposed to, if you don't get that, I once went to a kirtan festival, and they were going till late at night, but they had these ripping kirtans going in the middle of the night. And it was like,
I feel that way too.
You feel that way too?
Yeah,
those
like
I would love to wake up in the middle of the night and listen to those kirtans that were going on. It was so nice.
I sometimes I see like the curtains are being closed, and now it's time for the deities, you know, to be put to rest, and the kirtan's like ripping. I'm like, why don't we go into like, you know,
mellow down,
like a more lullaby right now, right?
Much more mellow.
Yes, Raghunath. We can relish these deeper moods of raga together. Only you understand me, Raghunath.
Anyway, Gopal, Harry Bowl, I'm going to try to stop by today.
Question. I wish we had more to offer, but we did the best we could with it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to read a question that's for the both of us. You ready, Raghunath?
Yes, I am.
This is coming from Leslie via email. It's an interesting question.
Is this Leslie Vente?
I have no idea. I just got Leslie. Mary, you know?
I don't think it's Leslie Vente. I think it's another Leslie.
There's two Leslies out there.
Okay. Leslie writes, I apologize if this has been addressed previously, as I haven't been watching the show live as I used to. But I have questions surrounding what the scriptures say about teaching yoga, especially teaching yoga asana. Okay. I do have my own devotional practice. I teach yoga asana classes, and I do continue my studies, presently in a 300-hour program as an apprentice Jyotisha, which means astrology, and continued guidance and support in my initial 200-hour teacher training, let me read it again. Presently a 300-hour program as an apprentice Jyotisha, and continued guidance and support of my initial 200-hour teacher who oversaw my practice for years before I completed a training program. I've always focused on centering yoga asana as one single part of a grander spiritual philosophy, practice, and devotional service that is yoga. Recently,
I love it. So, by the way, I love it so far.
Okay.
She's taking all these facets of yoga culture and, you know, and fine tuning them to devotional service. That is yoga.
Okay. But it gets more complicated now, Raghunath.
All right. Here.
Recently I have met quite aggressive pushback from one particular local swami.
Those local swamis causing trouble again.
Okay. I was denied participation in the Zoom puja offerings on the grounds that because I have not completed 12 or more years of dedicated study under one guru and have not been officially initiated as a Hindu, I am unqualified and being unethical in teaching yoga asana. So this Swami has said, you're not qualified to participate in certain things that we're doing here. And also, by the way, you're not really qualified to teach yoga. It was recommended that I should stop teaching or divorce my teachings altogether from yoga and call my offerings something else like somatics.
Somatics.
This doesn't feel right to me as yoga asana for me is truly part of my spiritual life, and that is how I present it when I teach. I would love to hear your thoughts around what it takes to teach yoga asana in a way that is respectful and honors the Hindu tradition. I don't want to be disrespectful, and I'm struggling because I see and hear how much the students who attend my classes appreciate and truly practice the philosophy that I present alongside the physical practice. What wisdom can you share on this topic?
Wow.
Take it, Raghu.
Thank you. First of all, I really like Leslie. I don't even know Leslie, but I really like her because I feel like she understands the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Right? We say that a lot. It gets a little old, but it's really, really good in this particular question. What's going on is yoga culture is massive. Just we were talking about the study of sound. That study of sound is like a whole field of understanding of bringing your consciousness to sattva. Then you can study Ayurvedic, Ayurvedic medicine. It's another 10-year investment of time. Like you're going to study to be a lawyer. It's the same type of thing. And then there, of course, is Indian dance. We know great people on our show, Kumari. They're incredible dancers. They give 10 years at least to study this stuff. Then you go on to, my son's learning drum. And to learn any of the musical instruments, it's another thing. Yoga asanas, it's a whole nother thing, how they're applied. I mean, it's such a cooking. It goes on and on. The culture is so deep. Now, the interesting thing about all these things, which has been the theme of this week's classes, is where are all these things bringing us? Remember, that was the thing. Mara, you're there somewhere. We said, where is culture bringing us? Where is our workplace bringing us? Where is we had one more thing.
Community, maybe?
Community bringing us. Like, where do we want to actually go with all this stuff? What's the point of community if it's bringing me down? What's the point of my workplace if it's just giving me some paycheck, but I'm not becoming anything, right? What's the point of culture? Just to say, yeah, I saw the Eiffel Tower. I saw that great piece of architecture. Check. I saw the Roman Colosseum. Check. Is it just like a weird cultural bucket list? So here she is, very focused on the main thing. I want devotional service is yoga. My student and her students are feeling some benefit from it. And so she may not have put in the time that the local Swami is saying, 12 years or more studying under one guru. So in that sense, under like a strict Vedic standards, she may not be a qualified yoga teacher according to these strict Vedic standards. She may not be a qualified Jyotish, Does that mean she doesn't have any insight on it? No, she might have some insight on it. I was teaching people how to do jujitsu when I was a white belt. Why? Because I was a white belt for a year and they were a white belt for 2 weeks. So any insight is better than no. Does that mean she's a master teacher? No. And it's safe to say that people are walking around, doing stuff, taking people, whether it's taking people on pilgrimage or leading Ayurvedic, Ayurvedic courses and stuff like that. And they may want to put in a little bit more time or teaching yoga. They might want to put in a little bit more time before they come out of the box because we want to study these things and get to know these things on a deeper level. That being said, I feel like this person's heart is in the right place and she's affecting herself and affecting the people around her. And I can appreciate what the Swami said, but I really feel like she's keeping the main thing, and she's concerned about it. You think and it is yoga and she's actively trying to study. And maybe you just can't go on the Zoom pujas anymore. That's what I would say. What do you think?
I appreciate what you're saying, and I agree with you. I appreciate Leslie's honesty and her concern. You know, she's approaching a culture and a tradition, and she's kind of torn between I want to present it, and I want it to be my life, and I want to help people with it. I have so much appreciation for it. I want to expose it to others and share it because I feel it can help them. So that's great. And at the same time, she's concerned that I want to do it well. I don't want to do it in an inauthentic way. And here's a person that's telling me that I'm doing it in an inauthentic way and I should stop. So what do I do? It's a tension. There's a tension there, and there's a tension between trying to keep something authentic and trying to spread it widely. Like
Right.
that's like a common kind of tension, right? If you can have something super duper incredibly authentic, and then you can create rules to kind of fence it in and make sure that it's preserved correctly. And it sounds like the Swami is saying, he's got a 12-year rule, and that should be followed. And if this is not preserved in this way, then it'll become watered down and eventually becomes lost. And that can be done very sincerely, like that. Like I don't think we should necessarily just like say, forget all that, but also that can also be used, and commonly those kind of things are used just to, out of someone's own egotistical kind of head trip, and power trip. And, those kind of arguments are also used to like kind of keep it within the family, not let, like kind of like it can be used to kind of defend one's position and one's own speciality and so on.
Right.
So I can't say, I can't judge this Swami, and I can't really judge Leslie here either. I can just recognize the tension. But I'll say this, that, and I will just share one quick story that Prabhupada shared. I forget the origin of it, but he told this story of, there was kind of like a veterinarian kind of character. I'm assuming
Like
this
it
is,
already.
okay.
Like this veterinarian character.
Yeah, I assume this was like in a more like an Indian village kind of setting or something like that. It's probably an old story. And there's the veterinarian, and then there's an apprentice, and the veterinarian gets called because someone has a horse that's sick, and so the veterinarian shows up with the apprentice, and someone's horse is lying on the ground, like just suffering. You can just see it suffering. It has a really swollen neck. And so, the veterinarian steps up and examines the horse a bit, and then does something unusual. He reaches into his medical bag, and he pulls out like a mallet, and he just starts slamming on the neck of the horse. He said, bam, 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 and in no time, like the swelling goes down, and the horse just jumps up and is like restored to its normal, state. And so, the apprentice took note, but this apprentice, was didn't have the patience or the sincerity, whatever it was, to really learn what it was, all that it took to be a veterinarian. And before long, they kind of broke off and began their own practice before they were fully qualified. And so then another time, shortly after that, he puts up his, what do they call it? Put up your shingle and, started his own practice. He gets called in. There's another horse lying on the ground and appearing, to be suffering in a similar way. And he reaches into, he got himself his own mallet, and he started pounding on the neck of the horse, and he killed the horse.
How did that horse fare?
And the horse did not fare well. He killed the horse.
He killed the horse.
And then the person who owned the horse said, "What are you doing? That's just insane. You just started slamming." Well, he says, "This is the way it's done. Like I learned it from my teacher." And then they went and they found that original veterinarian, and he said, "You fool. That horse had swallowed a watermelon, and the watermelon was like lodged in its throat. That was the problem. And therefore I needed to break down that watermelon, but it's not like that works under every circumstance. You have to really learn."
I see where you're doing with this story.
All right. So this is the point. If we're, and I'm not at all implying that this is Leslie, but it plays into this whole tension, is that when people artificially, without fully learning their craft or their science or their art or whatever, they try to almost pretend that they know more than they do, or they approach it without the proper caution. They can actually cause more harm than good.
Sure.
And so I just think there's some principles. Make sure you get good teachers yourself, and always be a student, right? Like the good teachers are always students. Really, if this is what you want to do with your life, make it your life, and don't let anyone discourage you. If your intention is good and this is something that you want to do, there's going to be people that'll discourage you. You don't have to listen to them, but never fake it, right? Like don't pretend that you're something that you're not. And what Raghunath said was like, good. I know okay, I'm a white belt, right? Raghunath didn't go and put on a black belt and start teaching or something like that, right? I'm a white belt. I can only help you with so much. I'm never going to fake that I know more than I do. But whatever I have learned, I can share. Never, and within spiritual circles, it's so easy for someone to just become one of these fake gurus, just parrot some flowery kind of talk, and
especially if you have long flowing hair.
Yes. And then you put on some kind of outfit that people are gonna whatever it might be, and you just put on the whole show. Never fake it, right? Be non-pretentious. Share what you got. Never fake it, and always. Or we can phrase this two ways. Never try to be the center of the show, but always try to be a conduit to more qualified teachers, right? Like even the greatest teachers still see themselves, I'm just a conduit to the next one, right? And they're never trying to be like the big shot, right?
Sure.
Which we also see in those yoga circles too.
Even within, there are people who want to become extremely qualified before they do anything. And there's something noble about that. But sometimes those people also, they get it's like, it's ready, aim, and they never fire. Mm-hmm. Don't be one of those person who collects all the certificates. I've accomplished this. I've accomplished this. Now go out and do that. But, and Prabhupada himself, he didn't wait till everybody was fully trained in bhakti and were masters of spiritual life to spread bhakti. Some of the biggest spreaders of devotional service who taught this stuff to people were teenagers, were people in their early 20s who had faith in Guru, and the Guru ordered them, go to this country.
And teach what I've taught. Exactly as you've heard it from me, teach it. Yeah. Prabhupada, to give a counter story, Prabhupada would also kind of, he would sometimes share something that he saw to encourage people to do exactly what you're saying, which was, we had Malati on the show a couple of weeks back, right?
Yeah.
Malati Prabhu, and she was traveling around with her little daughter, and Prabhupada traveling around the world, and her daughter was named Saraswati. And Prabhupada would say, sometimes Saraswati goes up to, and she was like 3 or, and would pull on someone's hand or, pull on their pants or whatever and say, and pull and get their attention and say to them, do you know who Krishna is? And they know to say, no, tell me. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada would say, that's perfect. It's like she's teaching up to the level that she's heard, but she's playing that role. She's sharing what she knows. So he would also encourage people to do exactly what you're saying, not hold back, share what you've got.
Share what you got while you're on the path, and just be humble about it. I don't know that much, but this is what I can share. This is my realization.
Yeah.
And I've been in the game for a while, but I don't like to preach beyond my realization. I don't like to explain things. I'll always take it back. Do I know Ganesh exists? I don't know Ganesh exists. Can he exist? Of course he can exist. Could he exist? Of course he could exist. Does he definitely exist? How the hell am I supposed to know?
Well, I would answer that a little differently. I would say, in other words, I don't know, but my faith is in these texts, right? And so that's where we go for this kind of information.
Well, then I would put that disclaimer in there. Yeah. This is what our acharyas or our master said, and
here's why I believe it.
And this is why, and this is a reason. But I think I find it's always safer to speak up to my realization and then put that disclaimer. There always is, and I will say, as I get deeper into my practice, the leap of faith becomes less of a leap.
Okay.
At one time, it might have been a leap across, to Sri
big
Lanka.
Hanuman leap.
A Hanuman leap. And now it's just a little few jumps across the brook,
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I
right.
think that was a good answer.
All right.
I think so. Let the crowd be the judge of that, the audience.
Leslie.
Join us on Zoom, people. Wisdom of the Sages 108@gmail.com. Hey, if you're listening to this for the first time, go to Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. Tell us how you got here and why you love Bhakti, okay?
What if they don't think it was that good?
If you don't think it was that
it's
good,
only 4-star
forget
worthy.
I ever even said this. Don't go to Apple
Don't
Podcasts.
All right.
Definitely do not go there. Review another podcast, but not ours. Okay. Okay. This one, what's up? This is for you, Kaustubha.
Okay.
This is for you. And this is from Anonymous. I love the anonymous people. They're so secretive. For Kaustubha. Do you ever, when someone writes, this is from Anonymous, do you ever feel like, I know who this is? You ever do that?
I
know this person.
I have absolutely no idea.
Hey, I'm going to think I'm looking around the Zoom board. It's one of you guys. Usually it's the person like you least expect. It's like right in front of your face. Like Mara, maybe. Maybe Mara wrote.
Mara wrote this.
Mara would never leave her name. She'd always write Anonymous. I'm positive of that. Okay, Anonymous. For Kaustubha. The wisdom of the sages.
Now I'm thinking of Mara.
From Mara's mouth, holding a fork or a spatula. The Wisdom of the Sages podcasts are so wonderful, and I love how inclusive it is to any listener. Dented cans, new to Bhakti, or already on the path. I particularly like how any topic, no matter how taboo it might be, are openly and respectfully discussed. Thank you. Listening to the podcast has inspired me in so many ways. I have such gratitude for the three of you. Maybe it is Mara. That was Mara
you
say.
See, that was to throw us off the trail.
Oh, yeah, that'll throw us off. The scent, that's like the crossing the river to throw us off the scent.
The cover of the
all
tracks.
three of us, huh, Mara?
Very clever.
I have so much gratitude for the three of you and other team members that put these podcasts out into the world. I'm a Western female outside of America practicing Bhakti, throwing us off the trail again,
That's right.
for about 10 years. My question is for Kaustubha. I like when they go right to you, like, Raghunath's not qualified for this one, so I'm going to go right to
That's not what that means.
Yes, it is, and you know it.
Come on.
Sometimes
they put the question to you. Sometimes they put the question.
I am having some spiritual experiences that I hope are related to this path. But my question is, how can I know for certain that the experience themselves is a deepening of my connection to Krishna, or whether it is something entirely of a separate nature?
So let's hear about these experiences.
Here it is. Ready? Given the personal and potentially provocative context, I am too embarrassed to ask my mentor or my Diksha guru. And that's why I am anonymous. Okay. I hope that this is not awkward for you. Please forgive me. Please forgive me if not. And sorry, the following background context is so long. Okay, it's okay. Let me hear it now.
The background context.
When I first heard the Maha Mantra sung by, quote, advanced devotees, I felt a longing followed by a quickening arousal of energy that culminated in what can I only describe as an ecstatic climax in my heart chakra. Okay, she's trying to like give it words for a feeling. I concluded that these experiences were related to Krishna. The Maha Mantra was special, and so were the, quote, advanced devotees who spent most of all or all of their lives practicing bhakti. I also surmised that being able to feel my own energy centers based on a previous episode contributed. These heart experiences continued for the next 8 years, only ever during Maha Kirtan.
Maha Mantra Kirtan, I think.
Maha Mantra Kirtan, and only when a few particular devotees sung. So certain devotees would affect her. Interesting, huh? Apart from one experience in the crown, it was always within the heart chakra. This was a small part of my bhakti path. But when COVID hit 2 years ago, the triggers expanded, the sensation expanded, and the duration expanded. It started prior to, but accelerated after I dove into a personal development and healing program due to feeling so disturbed during the lockdown. I used a wide variety of techniques and tools. The more work I did, the more healed I felt and the more connected to my heart, but more these experiences grew. Here's what triggers were. The triggers grew to include marveling at the beauty of nature, a feeling of missing, longing for the man I liked at the time, intentionally connecting to my heart, the Maha Mantra being sung by any devotee, listening to Krishna conscious classes. Even one time it was triggered when you read a question from a lady who found herself flourishing in her new bhakti path. And recently, just by turning my attention inwards. The sensation can go on for days and on end in a milder form with no obvious way to control or stop it. There are moments where the pleasure seems unbearable. Sounds great.
I know. Who would want to stop it?
Why are you even questioning this? Look, it's Mara. Look, she's just dancing around the kitchen in bliss. My level of realization is not high, and I'm still trying to shift my self-centeredness, orientation, and attachments. So there is zero chance that it is some kind of high-level experience, and I have not heard of this experience mentioned in the Bhakti path. But how then should I be viewing these experiences? If this is related to Krishna, or this path, how do the trigger of a man fit in, or the lady's story of just turning inwards? I feel the sense of longing. How do I know what I am longing for? Should I assume it's Krishna, even if I am not consciously aware of it? Is this some amazing mercy, or is there something potentially wrong with me? I feel burdened living with this secret, and sometimes I feel frightened and anxious about what is happening. Any thoughts you might have on the matter or advice would be greatly appreciated. Wow, what a story.
Yeah.
I want to meet this woman.
Me too. So I think, right off the bat, I kind of have to do what we were just talking about in the last answer, which was like, I don't know anything about chakras, right? I'm not going to fake it and pretend I have any knowledge of experience of chakras within myself, or that I really understand the science. And there are people that could approach this question from an angle that I'm totally unqualified to approach it from. Like, there are people that really know what chakras are. There are people that know about prana, and they know about the subtle energies in the body, and they might be aware of what's going on in your body in ways that I have no idea, right? And they might even be able to, in like a scientific way, kind of express like why something psychological would trigger something within your body and why your body's responding this way. I can't respond. All I can do is go to what I've read. I can't. I've in my own life, I've had some within dreams, some interesting experiences and stuff. But like what you're experiencing is, I've never experienced anything like that. But what I can do is go to what I've learned from Srila Prabhupada about these things. And I like the way that the anonymous questioner was saying, like, is there anything, in these books about this that describes what I'm going through? And the closest thing that I found, and it sounds like it's related, Prabhupada writes about this, really Rupa Goswami writes about this in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Prabhupada presents Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in a kind of a loose way, you could say. I don't know if loose is the right word, but like in a kind of a summary in his book called The Nectar Devotion. And that book is fascinating. It's a book that describes what Bhakti-yoga is, but it describes it in ways that people would never think of until you've read it, right? And one of the things that it describes is the different levels that the ladder that one climbs, you could say, to the point of Krishna Prema, where bhakti begins just with someone's faith, and step by step it increases until you reach what's called Krishna Prema, wherein your entire spiritual identity is revealed and your relationship with Krishna is revealed, and you experience all the emotions that are who you are in eternality in relation to God. And so there's a whole science to that, and really, like, there's the last two steps on the top rung on the ladder is called Krishna Prema, pure love for God, and the rung just before that is called Bhava, right? And Bhava is said to be, basically it is Krishna Prema, but it's just the sprout of it. It's like love of God has now sprouted. It's poking its head out from under the ground, right? And when it fully grows, then we call that Prema. But in that state of bhava bhakti, one begins to experience different symptoms. And we spoke about this earlier in the week, sattvika bhavas, right? Which here, sattvika means like pure. And so these pure bhavas, these pure emotions or pure experiences, they're called pure in this context because they're involuntary. It's not that I thought something and then I did something, but rather it just arose in me without any intention or effort of my own. And so those bhavas, there's a whole list of them in the Nectar Devotion, right? There may be goosebumps, one's hair standing on end. It may be a faltering in the voice. I'm trying to speak and my voice is faltering. Tears may pour from my eyes, involuntarily. I hear, and they're stimulated by things that are related to Krishna, right? Like I may hear someone speak about Krishna and suddenly I'm crying. My hair is standing on end, my voice is choking up. And so I may go to chant Krishna's name and these symptoms may arise in me. And that happens on the level of bhava bhakti. Now bhava, that stage of bhava is characterized by something called chitta masrinya, which means the softness of heart. And there's a beautiful verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that describes this stage. It says, when devotional service is executed on the transcendental platform of pure goodness, it is like a sun ray of love for Krishna. At such time, bhakti or devotional service causes the heart to be softened by various tastes, and then one is situated in bhava. So these sattvika bhavas will manifest. When you reach that stage, your heart becomes so soft that someone just says Krishna and you start to cry, right? Or someone says Krishna and your hair stands on end because like you feel the presence of Krishna and Krishna's name, and it's so moving. But the thing is this, that this level of devotion is something it's said that Krishna, he keeps it very confidentially. He doesn't just bestow it on anyone. It's bestowed on the deeply sincere and those that, it's a very high level of yoga, but people will fake it, right? And our topics are kind of tying in, right? So like if you go to Vrindavan, for instance, you may go into a temple and there may be someone rolling on the ground and they appear to be in some kind of super deep state of spiritual ecstasy, and they may even be able to cry. There's, actors can cry. There's a way to do it, right? You know how to do it, Arga?
I can cry. Let's see. I'm just a crier.
Okay, but some people like on demand can cry. Like they can make themselves. I think you're supposed to open your eyes, and not close them, and then think of something really sad.
I cried 4 times for The Sound of Music.
Okay, but that is not bhava bhakti. You see, that's different. For you, it might have been. I don't know. But in any case, the point is people can fake these things, and they often do because there's so much insincerity and hypocrisy in this world that they even come into this purest thing about like pure love of God. I'm going to fake it, and then I'm going to get some prestige from that, or maybe some followers from that, and that definitely happens, right? It definitely happens. Yeah. So then in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami lists 9 character traits that can be used as a standard for ascertaining whether someone's symptoms are real, right? Like, in other words, just because someo's in the temple. I love
where you're going with this. I love where you're going with this.
Okay. Do you know the symptoms? I mean, there's 9 of them, so it's not easy to get them all. I'll read through them quickly.
Like always, give me a hint.
The first one is that utilization.
Always talking
of time.
about Krishna. Always.
So the first one is that a person who has achieved the stage of bhava, that sprout of prema, they're always utilizing their time in devotional service. They don't waste any time, right?
Right.
They don't have some recreation besides their bhakti practice. No, like always they're focused. They're always reserved and perseverant. They're detached from all material attraction. They there are these fake gurus, right, that are like, they're crying their tears and they're rolling on the ground and they're doing all. I tell you, once Raghunath, anyway, I won't get into it, but there's so much cheating out there. I once,
There's some
in
rascal
Austin,
out there.
there was this temple it's all gone now, I think, or someone else has taken over it, but it was in Texas. There was a temple that was kind of like a temple to Radha, and it was called New Varshana.
It's still there. Don't talk about it.
Okay. But there's this one so-called guru, and he was just a cheater and a faker, and he was being exposed. And one magazine went there and they interviewed him, and they just started to ask the pressing questions.
Right.
And then the person just like zoned out. I forget exactly what they did. They either like fainted or something like that, and then later they came back and said, "I'm sorry, but when you asked those questions, and they pretended like they were experiencing some kind of deep spiritual involuntary symptoms."
See, you and me are New Yorkers. We're a little bit more cynical. We're cynical of everybody. We don't trust anyone.
Right. But then you see that these persons, like they're sleeping with all of their disciples and everything like that. So here it's saying, this person, if it's for real, they're detached from all material attraction, right? They're not after external things for their happiness. It's so also that then the next one, they do not long for any material respect in return for their activities.
Mm-hmm.
They're always certain that Krishna will bestow their mercy upon them. They're always very eager to serve the Lord faithfully. They are very much attached to chanting the holy names of the Lord. They're always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. And they're very pleased to live in a place where the Lord's pastimes are performed. And when you read the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it defines each one and gives examples of each one in greater detail. So the idea is, when one reaches the stage of bhava, their heart becomes very soft. They become very prone, and anything can set them off and set off these symptoms. Sure. But people also fake it. So a person that's on bhava will also be manifesting these symptoms. And I liked what our anonymous person said was like, it's definitely not me, right? Like they said, I've got all kind of I forget what they said, but they said, like, I've got all kind of material attachments, so I know that it isn't some kind of. Here they said, my level of realization is not high, and I'm still trying to shift my self-centeredness orientation and attachments. So there's zero chance that this is some kind of high-level experience that I have not heard of. You understand? So they're saying, if I had all these 9, then maybe I am on the level of bhava, but I know that I'm not. So what is going on?
Although a person on that level would say that, wouldn't they?
Oh, okay.
Person on that level would be like, I'm filled with material desires.
All right, that's true.
Another thing is that, there's those 5 potent items of bhakti too that can trigger a person to feel a very high state.
Okay, well, that's where I'm going, Raghunath. That's where I'm going. Now, hold on. Similar. So see, this is all being analyzed there in the Nectar Devotion, where it says, the heart becomes soft and you experience these involuntary symptoms, but people do fake it. Therefore, here are the 9 things that you can look for if this is genuine. Okay, well, what if I'm experiencing these, but I'm not faking it, but I also am not on that advanced level. I can tell because I'm not, I do have material attachment.
Right.
So what's going on? Okay. So it's said that a neophyte, if a beginner, a person that's not on the level of bhava, may display these symptoms, and it's something that is called ratyabhasa, which means it's like a reflection of bhava.
Oh, interesting.
Right? It's not the real. You're not faking it, but something's going on that's real, but it's not bhava, but it's a reflection of bhava or a shadow of bhava. There's 2 different levels. There's reflection, and then there's shadow. Like a shadow is kind of a reflection, but it's less thorough, in its representation, and whereas a reflection is like more detailed. So on different levels, one may feel the kind of something similar to what someone feels in Bhava Bhakti, although you're not situated on that level. So Prabhupada writes this in the Nectar Devotion. He says this imitative attachment can be divided into two headings, namely shadow attachment and para, or transcendental attachment. If someone, without undergoing the regulative principles of devotional service or without being guided by a bona fide spiritual master, shows such imitative attachment, this is called shadow attachment. Sometimes it is found that a person actually attached to material enjoyment or salvation has the good fortune to associate with pure devotees. And this is where she began, right? Like pure devotees would chant, and I would feel something.
Pure devotees, advanced devotees chanting the holy name.
Yeah. So that's where she began, right? She said, like,
I still want to meet this woman.
Okay, so let me continue. So sometimes it is found that a person actually attached to material enjoyment or salvation has the good fortune to associate with pure devotees while they are engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord. By the good grace of the Lord, one may also cooperate in joining in the chanting at that time. Simply by the association of such pure devotees, the moon-like rays from their hearts reflect on them. And by the influence of the pure devotees, they may show some likeness of attachment caused by inquisitiveness. But this is very flickering. And if by the manifestation of such shadow attachment one feels the disappearance of all material pangs, then that is called para attachment. Such shadow attachment or para attachment can develop if one associates with pure devotees or visits holy places like Vrindavan or Mathura. And if an ordinary person develops such attachment for Krishna and fortunately performs devotional activities in association of pure devotees, then they can also rise to the platform of pure devotional service. The conclusion is that the transcendental attachment is so powerful that if such attachment is seen manifest even in some common person by the association of a pure devotee, it can bring one to the perfectional stage. But such attachment for Krishna cannot be invoked in a person without being sufficiently blessed by the association of pure devotees. So whether this shadow or para attachment is what you're experiencing, I can't say for sure, but it seems like we're in the right ballpark here. You know, it seems like by the grace of some advanced devotees through their chanting of the holy name, a reflection of their devotion landed on you and on your heart. And somehow it's sticking with you, and it's not going away. It's kind of got in your body somehow, right? And it's in there. Again, I'm sure there are people that that you could find that could describe this in far greater detail and so on. I don't know it so well, but it appears to me that that's the case. Perhaps this is your situation. You're a sincere person. You're not on the level of Baba where all those 9 symptoms are manifest in you 24 hours a day. But you are sincere, and you've had the good fortune to associate with pure devotees, and through their chanting, some reflection of pure devotion is manifest within your heart and within your body. And it's somehow sticking with you. Now, why that is, I don't know. But the answer given here is that you can take that to the real level by serving pure devotees. And beyond that, I really don't know what to say. I wouldn't be afraid of it. I would, in any case, the answer is always going to be, right? Give your life to God, and
right.
whether
that's always the answer. You're brand new on the path, give your life to God. You're an old man, old lady on the path, give your life to God. Practicing this a week or 30 years or 50 years, give your life to God. As long as whatever these experiences aren't taking you away from your spiritual practice, who cares?
That's right.
Great answer.
As long as it doesn't happen like you're driving your car and
as long as you're putting yourself or others in danger.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So maybe that wasn't
over. It may be. We don't know.
Are you having a spiritual ecstatic experience chopping broccoli right now?
It wasn't me.
Is that one of your triggers? Was it one of your triggers?
Reflection coming from your heart.
Broccoli. I break out the broccoli.
We were over time. I didn't even know.
Yeah, that's okay. You were good.
Thank
you, everybody, for joining us on Q&A day. Tomorrow we have a day off, and we'll rejoin you Monday at 6 a.m. New York time. If you join us on Zoom, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Lots of stuff going up today and in the next days on wisdomofthesages.com for retreats we're having here at the farm, including such things as kirtan trainings with me and Madhu. We're doing a yin study with Bobby Marchand, a yin and restorative study. Immersion. We're doing our Wisdom of the Sages weekends. in the second weekend, we're going to have a special kirtan and holy weekend. Yes.
Hold it. We gotta
Holy,
discuss.
holy. We get to all throw holy colors at our love Kaustubha.
That has not been confirmed. Holy.
One of the days is holy. One of the days is holy.
This is the way Raghunath works. He just starts talking about something online.
Everybody gets excited.
And if he
then
can
it
get
just becomes
anybody
this.
to like say like, oh, that sounds cool, then like he's got like he's
Yeah,
planning
I've got
a little
whole
bit
group of
further.
people. Holy. It's important to establish cultural rituals. And of course, Italy. We're going to Italy, people. Wisdom of the Sages, there's about 6 spaces left for Italy. If you're thinking about it, go to wisdomofthesages.com for more information. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And now let's do what we do best. Sing and dance.